All right, listeners. So today, we're taking a deep dive into something I think we all kind of dread:
Yeah.
workplace conflict.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and this isn't about you know, winning arguments or passive-aggressive sticky notes or anything like that.
Right.
This is about really using emotional intelligence
Mm-hmm.
as your secret weapon
Yeah.
to actually turn these office clashes
Yeah.
into growth opportunities.
Absolutely.
Are you in for this one?
I'm in.
I am too.
Let's do it.
Okay, so think of this as our deep dive into really mastering those tough conversations.
Absolutely. And we're going to give you some very specific, tangible tools to do just that.
Okay, good, because I need those.
From understanding why they happen in the first place to practical communication strategies, you know,
Yeah.
we're going to try to cover it all.
Okay, so listener, while you're listening to this,
Yeah.
think back to a recent workplace conflict that you've had.
Yeah.
And maybe it's one that still makes you cringe a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Okay, got it in your mind.
Yep.
Okay. Keep that scenario in mind as we break down these concepts.
Yes.
Because you're going to be applying these insights
Yeah.
directly to your experience.
Love it.
Okay, so first off, I think we have to acknowledge that conflict in the workplace is pretty much unavoidable.
It is. It's going to happen.
It's gonna happen.
You've got so many different personalities, different communication styles, people coming from, different backgrounds and,
Totally.
bringing all that to the table.
And, unclear expectations and things like that, it's bound to happen.
It is.
Yeah, it's when you're the meticulous planner
Mm-hmm.
and your coworker thrives on last-minute chaos.
Yeah. Right.
You're just destined to...
It's head-on collision.
Yeah, head-on collision.
Yeah.
Or when a project's goals are so vague that everyone's basically fumbling in the dark and stepping on each other's toes all the time.
Yeah, just unclear expectations are just a breeding ground for conflict.
Yeah,
You know?
totally. So, and the thing is, ignoring or poorly handling these conflicts
Right.
has consequences
Absolutely.
that go way beyond just hurt feelings.
Way beyond.
Right.
I mean, we're talking decreased productivity, a nosedive in team morale, damage to relationships. It's a ripple effect
Right.
that impacts the entire work environment.
Yeah, and that's where emotional intelligence comes in.
That's where it comes in.
Right. It's not about suppressing those emotions.
No.
It's about becoming aware of them
Uh-huh.
and using them strategically.
Being able to kind of harness and channel them appropriately, right?
Yes.
That's the thing about emotional intelligence. It's not just about
Right.
being all touchy-feely. It's no,
Ah.
this is a strategic tool that you can use to your advantage.
Yeah, so self-awareness, empathy, and emotional regulation. Those are kind of the big three.
The trifecta.
Yeah, the trifecta.
Yeah.
Think of those as your toolkit for turning conflict into a catalyst for positive change.
I love that. Turning it into a positive
Yeah.
instead of letting it kind of
Yeah.
spiral,
Right.
downward.
Yeah, okay, so self-awareness. I mean, this sounds so simple,
It does.
but how do we truly understand
Yes.
what's driving our reactions in
Yeah.
those heated moments?
It starts with getting really honest with yourself.
Right.
What are your typical reactions in a conflict? Do you shut down? Do you get defensive?
Yeah.
Do you lash out?
Do you avoid?
Do you avoid? Yeah,
Yeah.
all of those different things.
Totally.
And the key is to identify those patterns, not to judge yourself, but to just understand what's triggering them, to have that awareness.
So going back to that specific conflict that you're thinking about,
Yeah.
what were you feeling at the time?
Yes.
Were you feeling frustration? Were you feeling anger? Maybe a sense of being unheard or disrespected?
Totally. Or maybe even fear,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, for sure.
Sometimes that underlies it.
Oh.
If you feel like your job is on the line or,
Totally.
your reputation is on the line,
Yeah.
that can definitely trigger some fear.
Absolutely. And what about that situation specifically pushed your buttons?
Yeah. And this is where journaling can be incredibly helpful.
Okay.
By taking the time to reflect on your emotional patterns, you can start to anticipate your reactions and choose more constructive ways to respond.
It's almost like having a playbook for your own emotional responses.
Exactly.
That
Know your triggers.
But it's not just about us, right?
It's not.
Empathy plays a huge role in this too.
Huge role.
Yeah.
Empathy is critical.
So empathy isn't about agreeing with the other person's viewpoint.
No?
It's about understanding where they're coming from.
Yes. It goes deeper than simply acknowledging their perspective.
Yeah.
It's about really trying to understand their experience.
So how do we actually cultivate empathy
Right.
in the middle of a conflict when we're feeling attacked?
Especially when misunderstood.
You're feeling all those,
Yeah.
those emotions yourself.
Totally.
It takes conscious effort.
Okay.
One powerful technique is to imagine stepping into their shoes.
Okay.
So like literally, what pressures are they facing?
Mm-hmm.
What might their motivations be that you're not aware of?
Yeah.
You know?
Like, for example, let's say your coworker consistently misses deadlines.
Yeah.
Instead of immediately assuming that they're lazy or incompetent,
Right.
consider other factors.
There could be a lot of other things at play.
Yeah. Are they overloaded with work?
Right.
Is there a lack of clarity in their role?
Uh-huh.
Maybe there's some kind of communication breakdown happening that you're not privy to?
Totally.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot more
Yeah.
than people think,
Right.
Oh,
So by shifting your perspective, you
Yeah.
can start to see the situation through a different lens,
absolutely.
which can really de-escalate that tension.
And create space for a more productive conversation.
Yeah, because if you go in with that assumption that they're just lazy or incompetent,
Right.
you're already starting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah. You've already shut down
Yeah.
any possibility of collaboration.
Exactly. It's not going to be a good outcome.
This doesn't mean we have to condone their behavior.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
Not at all.
It's more about understanding the full picture
Yes.
before jumping to conclusions.
Right. And that full picture, it's like
Yeah.
you're getting more data points, right?
Yes.
So you can make a better,
Exactly.
more informed decision.
Yeah. And that leads us to the third element of our emotional intelligence toolkit,
Yes.
emotional regulation.
Emotional regulation.
Because let's face it,
Yeah.
those heated moments can make you want to
Oh,
just say things you're going to regret later.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been there where you just like,
Oh, yeah.
something comes out of your mouth and you're like,
Oh, I wish I could take that back.
I wish I could just rewind
Yeah.
2 seconds.
It's like that split second
Yeah.
where you have to choose between reacting impulsively
Right.
or taking a breath and responding thoughtfully.
And that choice is everything.
Is
Emotional regulation is not about suppressing your feelings. It's
Yeah.
about managing them in a way that allows you to stay calm and collected, even under pressure.
So what are some practical techniques to keep those emotions in check when things start to get heated?
Yeah.
Because we've all been there, right?
Yeah, I've all been there.
Your heart's racing. You feel that flush of anger.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
Well, the first thing is simply to recognize what's happening in your body.
Okay.
Like, are your muscles tense?
Hmm.
Are you starting to speak faster?
Yeah.
Are you like,
Are you raising your voice?
yeah, are you raising your voice? Are
Yeah.
you getting that like tunnel vision
Yeah, sure.
where you can only see like
Yeah.
the thing that's right in front of you?
Yeah.
Awareness is the first step to control. Okay.
And so once you kind of recognize like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is happening in my body,
Mm-hmm.
then take a few deep breaths.
Okay.
I know it sounds cliche,
Yeah.
but it really does help
Mm-hmm.
to regulate your nervous system.
So deep breaths and maybe a mental reminder to slow down.
Yes.
I like it.
Slow down.
What else?
Sometimes the best thing you can do is take a break.
Okay.
If the conversation is getting too intense, say something like,
Mm.
I need a few minutes to collect my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Let's continue this later.
Yeah, it's like hitting the pause button.
Hit the pause button before
Things escalate
things escalate to a point
to a point of no return.
of no return. Yeah,
Taking that time to cool down, I think, can make a world of difference.
absolutely.
Okay, so we've got self-awareness, empathy, and emotional regulation.
Our trifecta.
A powerful trifecta.
Yeah.
But how do we actually apply these tools
Yeah.
in a real conflict situation?
Right.
Let's get tactical. Welcome back to our deep dive on navigating workplace conflict with emotional intelligence.
And remember, we left off talking about how to hit that pause button when things get heated.
Yes.
Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of resolving those conflicts constructively.
Let's do it.
I'm talking actionable steps, real-world tactics.
Yeah.
The kind of stuff you can actually use come Monday morning.
I love
Me
it.
too.
Let's get tactical.
So remember that conflict we've been asking you to think about?
Yes.
We're going to use that as a case study as we walk through these strategies.
Okay, good.
So we touched on active listening earlier.
Yes.
It's more than just nodding along, right?
It's way more than just nodding along.
It's about truly absorbing what the other person is saying,
Uh-huh.
their words and their emotions.
Yeah, you're really trying to listen to understand,
Yeah.
not just to respond.
Yeah.
And it starts with nonverbal cues. Put your phone down, make eye contact, and actually engage with what they're saying.
Body language speaks volumes.
It really does.
But what about those times when you need to make sure you're truly getting their perspective.
That's where paraphrasing comes in.
Okay.
Repeating back what you've heard in your own words shows that you're really making an effort to understand their point of view. You could say something like, so if I'm understanding you correctly, you're feeling frustrated because...
It not only clarifies their message, but it also validates their feelings.
Yes.
Which can really de-escalate things.
Totally.
Yeah.
It can really help just kind of bring the temperature down a little bit.
And don't underestimate the power of asking clarifying questions.
Yeah, asking good questions is so important.
Things like, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah.
Or, what specifically is causing you to feel this way?
Yeah.
These types of questions show that you're genuinely interested.
Yes.
In understanding their perspective.
Not just waiting for your turn to talk. Which we've all done.
Oh, yeah.
We've all done that, where you're like half listening.
Yeah.
But you're really just thinking about what you're going to say next.
For sure.
So really try to be present.
It's like digging for that deeper layer of understanding.
Yes.
Going beyond the surface level to uncover the root of the issue.
Exactly.
And all of this helps to build trust.
It does.
Which is essential for moving toward a resolution.
Because, let's be honest, when you feel like someone genuinely gets you, you're much more likely to be open to hearing their side of things.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've actively listened. We've validated their feelings.
Yes, yes.
Hopefully build a little bit of trust along the way.
Hopefully.
Now, how do we shift from understanding the problem to actually finding a solution?
This is where collaboration becomes key.
Okay.
And I mean genuine collaboration, not just trying to force your solution. On the other person, it's about brainstorming together to find an outcome that benefits everyone involved.
So going back to your case study.
Yeah.
Think about that specific issue that's causing the conflict. Can you clearly articulate it?
Yeah. Can you name it?
And make sure that the other person understands it the same way that you do.
Yeah. Is there shared understanding of the problem?
So, for example, instead of saying, you're always late to meetings, try reframing it as, we're having an issue with meetings consistently starting late and it's impacting our team's productivity.
Yes.
See the difference?
It shifts the focus from blame to problem solving.
It becomes a shared challenge.
Yes.
That you're both working to address.
Exactly.
Instead of like pointing fingers.
Finger pointing never helps.
Never.
No.
Okay, so once you've clearly defined the problem, then it's time to brainstorm solutions.
That's where the fun begins.
Yeah, and I mean, really get creative here.
Yes.
Don't censor yourselves.
No.
Throw out all the ideas, even the ones that seem a little crazy at first.
Yeah, even the ones that seem impossible. You never know where that might lead.
It's like creating a judgment-free zone for ideas.
Exactly.
A space where you can explore all the possibilities without fear of criticism.
Just get it all out on the table.
And as you're brainstorming, focus on finding solutions that address the root cause of the conflict.
Yes.
Not just the symptoms.
The root cause, not just putting a Band-Aid on it.
So rather than just patching up the problem, you're getting to the heart of it.
Yes.
And preventing it from happening again in the future.
You're looking for that long-term solution.
And remember, compromise is crucial.
Right.
It's rare that everyone will get exactly what they want.
Right.
The goal is to find a solution that meets everyone's core needs.
Yes.
As best as possible.
As best as possible.
So as you're evaluating those potential solutions, ask yourself, does this address the underlying issue? Is it fair to everyone involved?
Yeah.
And most importantly, is it sustainable?
Sustainability, that's huge.
In the long run.
Yeah. Is this something that we can actually implement and stick with?
Exactly.
It's a quick fix.
And even after you've reached a solution, it's important to follow up.
Yes.
To make sure it's actually working in practice.
Yeah, because sometimes things look good on paper.
Right.
But then when you actually try to implement them,
they fall apart.
They don't quite work the way you thought they would.
So it's not a set it and forget it kind of deal. You need to check in.
You got to check in.
Make adjustments as needed and make sure everyone's on board.
Make sure everybody's still good.
Okay, so we've covered active listening, brainstorming solutions, and the importance of compromise.
So far, so good.
But resolving a conflict is one thing.
Yeah.
How do we actually learn from it?
Yeah.
And use that experience to grow?
That's where reflection comes in.
Oh.
After each conflict, take some time to just kind of debrief with yourself. What worked well? What could you have done differently? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about the other person?
I like that.
It's like turning that conflict into a case study of personal growth.
Analyzing what happened, identifying your strengths and weaknesses, and using that knowledge to become a more effective communicator.
Exactly. Because remember, conflict resolution is a skill.
It is.
That takes practice.
Like any skill.
Like any skill.
The more you do it, the better you'll become.
Exactly.
At navigating those challenging conversations.
The more comfortable you'll get.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
But before we move on to creating a more positive work environment overall, I think it's important to acknowledge that not all conflicts are resolvable.
That's true.
And not all workplaces are created equal.
That is a very good point.
Sometimes, despite your best efforts, you might encounter situations where the conflict is unresolvable, or the other person is just unwilling to engage constructively.
Yeah, and that's tough.
And in those cases, it's crucial to prioritize your own well-being.
Yes, protect yourself.
Because you can't pour from an empty cup.
You cannot.
Right?
You have to take care of yourself first.
So what are some red flags that tell you it might be time to step back or involve a third party like HR?
When do you know it's time to kind of wave the white flag and say, I need some help?
Yeah, I'm thinking if you're feeling constantly drained or stressed by a particular conflict, if the other person is engaging in disrespectful or even abusive behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or if you've tried everything you can to resolve the issue on your own without success.
Yeah, if you've tried all the things that we've talked about.
Yes.
And it's still not working.
Those are pretty clear signs.
Yeah, those are big red flags.
It's important to remember that you don't have to tolerate a toxic work environment.
You don't.
You have the right to feel safe and respected at work.
And sometimes seeking support from a manager, HR, or even a trusted colleague can help you navigate those challenging situations and protect your well-being.
It's not a sign of weakness to ask for help.
No, it's not.
It takes courage and self-awareness to recognize when you need support.
Absolutely.
So to wrap up this part, we've talked about active listening, brainstorming solutions, the importance of compromise learning from each conflict, and prioritizing your own well-being.
We've given you those practical strategies
to
navigate those difficult conversations and turn conflict into an opportunity for growth.
But how do we prevent some of those conflicts from happening in the first place?
That's a great question, and one we'll tackle in our final part. Stay tuned as we explore proactive strategies for creating a workplace where disagreements can be handled constructively and respectfully.
Welcome back, listener. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From understanding the emotional triggers behind conflict.
Yes.
To practical strategies for resolving those situations.
Absolutely.
We even talked about those times when, despite your best efforts, a conflict just can't be resolved or the situation becomes toxic.
Yeah.
But now let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
What if we could prevent some of these conflicts from happening in the first place?
Right.
Wouldn't that be a workplace superpower worth having?
Absolutely. I'm all about prevention.
Me too.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin?
Right.
Is there some magic formula for conflict prevention?
I wish there was like a magic wand we could wave, but it's not magic, but it does involve some key ingredients.
Okay.
And I think perhaps the most important is fostering a culture of open and honest communication.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it goes beyond just replying to all your emails, though.
It does. It goes way beyond that.
Okay.
It's about creating a space where people feel comfortable sharing their ideas, their concerns, and even disagreements without fear of retribution.
So how do we actually build that kind of environment?
Right.
Because, let's be honest, some workplaces are more like speak when spoken to than like open door policy.
Right, exactly. Some are definitely more open than others, and it does take a conscious effort to create that kind of safe space.
So what can we do?
Well, one way is to encourage regular check-ins, both individually and as a team. And these aren't just about project updates. It's also about gauging how everyone's feeling, addressing any potential roadblocks, making sure everyone feels heard and valued.
It's like taking the temperature of the team.
Yes.
Making sure everyone's on the same page.
Right.
And addressing those little issues before they turn into big blow-ups.
Before they fester.
Yeah.
And become something bigger.
And it's not just about talking. It's about actively listening, too.
Yes. Active listening is so important.
Remember those techniques we discussed earlier?
Yeah.
Paraphrasing, asking clarifying questions, showing genuine interest in what others have to say.
Because sometimes just feeling heard can really go a long way in preventing a conflict
Totally
escalating.
Okay, so communication is just one piece of the puzzle.
It is.
What else can we do to proactively prevent conflict?
Well, remember how we talked about unclear expectations being a breeding ground for conflict?
Yeah.
That's where clear roles and responsibilities come in.
Makes sense when everyone knows what's expected of them and how their work fits into the bigger picture. It's less likely there'll be confusion or,
Yeah, or people stepping on each other's toes or,
Right.
Working at cross purposes.
Yeah.
So take the time to really clearly define roles, responsibilities, and reporting structures. Make sure everyone understands who's accountable for what and who they should go to with questions or concerns.
It's like having a clear roadmap for the team so everyone knows where they're going and how to get there.
I love that analogy.
But what about those personality clashes?
Yeah.
That just seem inevitable in any workplace.
Right, because you're always going to have a mix of personalities. And that's where understanding different communication styles can make a huge difference.
Okay.
Because the way one person expresses themselves might be completely different from how another person interprets it.
Oh, I've seen that firsthand.
Oh, yeah.
Like the direct communicator who unintentionally offends the more sensitive team member.
Yeah, or the detail-oriented person who clashes with the big picture thinker.
Oh, yeah.
Those are classic examples.
So the first step is to be aware of your own communication style.
Know thyself.
Right.
Yeah, and how it might be perceived by others.
Yeah. Are you blunt? Are you diplomatic? Do you prefer face-to-face conversations or emails?
Right. Are you a texter or are you an emailer?
It's like having that self-awareness mirror, right?
Yes.
Understanding your own tendencies and how they might impact your interactions with others.
And then it's about being observant of how others communicate.
Oh, okay.
Do they need time to process information?
Yeah.
Before responding? Do they prefer to get straight to the point or have a more roundabout approach?
And being willing to adapt your communication style to meet their needs.
Yes.
It's not about changing who you are,
right,
but about being flexible and finding common ground.
Exactly. And sometimes a little humor can go a long way.
Oh, yeah.
In diffusing tension and building rapport.
Okay, so we've talked about communications, clear roles, understand communication styles.
Yes.
What else can we do?
Well, remember how we talked about reframing conflict as an opportunity for growth? That mindset shift applies here, too.
So instead of viewing conflict as something to be avoided at all costs, we should embrace it as a chance to learn and improve.
Yes, but with the caveat that it needs to be healthy conflict.
Okay.
So encourage people to voice their opinions respectfully, to challenge assumptions, and to engage in constructive debate.
It's about shifting from a me versus you mentality to a let's find the best solution together approach.
Exactly. And remember, diverse perspectives are a strength, not a weakness. When people feel safe to express different viewpoints, you get more creative solutions and better decision-making.
It's like that saying, if everyone's thinking alike, then someone isn't thinking.
I love that.
Me too.
And finally, create clear channels for feedback and conflict resolution.
Okay.
Whether it's regular team meetings, suggestion boxes, or an open door policy, make sure people know they have a voice and that their concerns will be taken seriously.
It's about making it safe for people to speak up, whether it's about a small issue or a major concern, because often those unaddressed issues are the ones that fester and turn into bigger conflicts down the road.
Exactly. And by fostering this culture of open communication, respect, and collaboration, you create a work environment where disagreements, when they do arise, can actually become catalysts for positive change.
So listener, as we wrap up this deep dive into workplace conflict, remember, conflict is inevitable.
It is.
But it doesn't have to be destructive.
It doesn't.
By applying these emotional intelligence strategies, both reactively and proactively, you can transform disagreements into opportunities for growth.
Absolutely.
Build stronger relationships and create a more positive and productive work environment for yourself and those around you.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep striving to create a workplace where everyone feels heard, respected, and valued.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's it for our deep dive this time.
Yeah.
We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic to explore together.
Sounds good.
Until then, keep learning and keep growing.